I started Zoloft. I started at like 10 milligrams. Week later, I was at 25. Then I was like at 50. And within a couple months, I was at 100. And um, I will never forget like the worst night of my life. Okay. So you're not supposed to drink alcohol, obviously, with SSRIs. And I think I had just gone on to, I think I just had hit 100 milligrams. And was, I went out one night and I had, I think, two drinks. And I don't really even drink, but two drinks, like, it affects me, but doesn't really affect me. And I'll never forget, you guys, I was a different person. And I didn't black out. I've never blacked out. But there are things that people have told me that I did that night that I would never do or say. And it was not until 2 days later that my family and I and everyone put all the pieces together and we realized it was because of mixing alcohol in this medication. So that was a massive wake up call because I remember my psychiatrist saying if you have one drink, it's going to feel like seven. And I'll be honest, I thought he was exaggerating. I was like, one drink feeling like seven? And I'm only a social drinker, like every couple of months, maybe, if that. So thankfully now that doesn't happen anymore. It was just because my body was just not used to that medication and the alcohol. Like it was just not a good combination. It's never a good combination. I don't even think alcohol is good by itself. So it is what it is. But I will tell you guys that that night cost me so many relationships and friendships and a restaurant that I literally can't even go back to because it's so embarrassing. And I did not know who I was that night. And that is how powerful that's my first experience of how powerful this medication was. And then we soon figured out that I am what's called an adverse side effect patient, I think. And that is where basically you get, some of you guys are going to freak out about this probably, but basically where you get every single side effect and you get like the really, really rare ones, the like 1 in 5. I'm that girl. And never knew it until I went on Zoloft. So I remember talking to my psychiatrist and I remember logging my side effects, and I didn't even know if they were side effects. I never Googled the side effects on purpose because I didn't want him to think that I was making them up or that I had previously researched them. And so I just started logging all the things that were different and going on in my life. And I remember the next time I talked to him, I think after I had hit 100, I was honest with him about the alcohol incident. I was honest about everything. And I remember him telling me, I had a lot of like GI issues in the beginning. And because serotonin is made in your gut, he told me after I gave him the details of that, he was like, you must have been so deficient in serotonin that, like, I can't even believe it because of the side effects that you're getting. Like, your system literally can't even like process it. It like needs it so badly. And I had like less than half of the amount of serotonin that you should. So eventually we got that up again. But the other side effects started rolling in. And the biggest one was insomnia, except I didn't know it was insomnia because I thought insomnia was when you couldn't fall asleep. Mine was like reversed. So I could fall asleep just fine. And I would wake up every single morning at 4 o'clock on the dot. 4 a.m. every single morning. And I remember my body would be asleep, but my brain would be awake. And it did not matter how long I laid there. It did not matter what I did. My body was not having it. And I remember having the most restless legs. I cannot even describe it. I had to flipper my feet, like literally like flippers, and flutter my feet and constantly move my legs. And well, I had restless leg syndrome because of the medication. And I couldn't stop moving. I could not stop moving. And you guys, I think I spent 6 to 9 months going through this. I'm not kidding. And everyone in my life knew. Everyone knew I was up at 4 a.m. every day. And for whatever reason, if I left the house and came back, I could go back to sleep. So I would start going to Starbucks at like 5 maybe in the mornings. And then I would come home, and there was something about getting out of my bed and out of my house that like calmed me down. But I'll never forget, like literally it, or also when I was falling asleep, I remember a lot of times I just would not stop moving. And then the involuntary movements started to happen, and my knee would jerk, or my ankle would jerk, or my shoulder would jerk. And my grandpa had Parkinson's before he passed, and I would watch his body jerk like involuntarily all the time. And then I was doing it, and it was really a scary parallel. And again, I had no idea that these were side effects of the medication, but I figured that they were. And so I talked to my psychiatrist over the span of these months, and I just told him every time. And he put me on a couple of different additional medications on those. And they did not help at all with the side effects, because the thing is that I was already months into taking Zoloft, and we saw progress on the mental side of things. Like my mind was doing so much better and so much more stable, but the side effects were making it almost not worth it. But it wasn't to the point where I wanted to start all over and switch to Prozac, because we had already come this far and I could see improvements, but I also knew I couldn't live with these side effects forever. And so finally he one day recommended Klonopin, and I had no idea what Klonopin was. Didn't know it was a benzo. I had no idea. Again, I wasn't someone who obsessed over this sort of thing, so I just did what he told me. And I went on 1 milligram of Klonopin, 1, and the side effects stopped. Not even kidding you. It was like magic. And so 200 milligrams of Zoloft and 1 milligram of Klonopin. And a Klonopin, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like it sedates you a little bit. A lot of times it's prescribed for people with seizures. Because of my constant involuntary movements and my restless leg syndrome, I thought I might have serotonin syndrome. I was nervous at that point because it was really affecting my quality of life. But again, I didn't want to compromise and switch everything that we had been doing, because I knew the Zoloft was working for my anxiety. So it was just about, okay, how do we address these side effects and move forward? So fast forward to today, I still get little jerks all the time, but it's nothing like it was. I hardly even notice it now. Other people notice it more than I do, and I can live with that as long as it's not something that's constantly distracting me. Every once in a while, I'll feel like my shoulder jerk or something like that, and it's the weirdest feeling because you have absolutely no control over it. Like you're literally watching your body move and you're not moving it. And it's so crazy, but these medications are extremely powerful.